The Map is Indestructible, Volume 2 of The True Isn't the Rational, Problems of Internally Consistent Systems. In this book you will find theoretical awareness, monotheism, scripted, self-delusion, the tordness of evidence, paradox, and the paradox of judgment, and then codas explaining each section and how they relate to the other sections. There are numerous more papers, like The Death is the Event Horizon of Reason, The Truth is Veiled in Blood, The Game Theory of Why Many Conversations Are Bad. The piece, The True Isn't the Rational, of which is the title piece of the entire trilogy, works on Wittgenstein's confidence and certainty, discussions on ideology following Zizek, and the maps is a description of scripts, judgment, ideology, worldviews, all of which I think are on the same gradient. There's a lot of overlap with Zizek's take on ideology, but I find that the word ideology is difficult to use without people automatically associating it with politics, economics, capitalism, and Marxist thought. I think the map is really a term that describes what we're constantly doing. We're constantly creating maps through judgment, through worldviews, through interpretations. And all of these are efforts by which we get our footing, our standing in the world. And we require a firm standing in the world so that we can survive and function, but it comes at the great risk of creating an internally consistent system from which we can never escape, like a conspiracy. The conspiracy is desire's masterpiece, as the book will describe, and the conspiracy has to be taken seriously as the logical product and extension of autonomous rationality, of which will then lead us into considerations of Benjamin Fontaine and more. This was originally going to be Volume 3 of The True Isn't the Rational, but I've decided that The Map is Indestructible makes more sense as Volume 2. And Volume 3 will be Reconstructing ASA, which at one point was Volume 2, so please note this adjustment. This book will be hoping to help us understand why the problem of internally consistent systems is so prevalent today. The book will consist of the piece on Pandora's rationality, which came out of my conversations with Lorenzo. It will have explorations of the work of St. Anselm, whose ontological proof I think is extremely useful for understanding the problem of ideology and thinking in general. And hopefully the book will come to a place where we can understand why rationality needs to move outside of itself into something more Hegelian. And if we were to take that move seriously, it would change how we think about thinking, which I think we desperately need today. For more by O.G. Rose, please visit Amazon, where you can find the first volume of The True Isn't the Rational, The Conflict of Mind, as well as Belonging Again, which will come up quite regularly in The Map is Indestructible, because today, as we are losing givens, or givens are falling away, we are easily tempted to try to replace givens with maps. And so The Map is Indestructible is quite the temptation, or it's becoming quite the problem precisely because of our sociological condition today. And The Map is Indestructible, I think, should follow Belonging Again, as opposed to Reconstructing ASA. And ultimately, Reconstructing ASA, I think, is better situated to connect with the fate of beauty and the absolute choice. The temptation of maps only grows as we become more existentially anxious and uncertain of ourselves given the collapse of givens. But we must resist maps. For though maps have always been with us, as givens fall away, and maps certainly emerge with givens, but as givens fall away, maps race in to fill the void, to fill the hole, and we have to resist this temptation. But we will not be able to resist it if we don't understand how maps work, how they enclose us, how they appear without us even realizing it, and how we can engage in things like map creation, map sealing, map vanishing, and other categories that will be explored in the work. For more on the work, please check out YouTube, Medium, Instagram, Twitter, Anchor, and so on and so forth. And thank you so much for your time.